Hi guys, this is Frank again with Solid Sound in Atlanta. Today we are going to talk about setting up controllers and uh, keyboard controllers and such inside of Studio One. You would want to hook up controllers to your digital audio workstation to be able to play keyboards for virtual instruments, to be able to do mixing, hands-on mixing with knobs and faders, as opposed to trying to always do it on a mouse. Uh, for someone like myself, a little bit more old school, I like the feeling of these knobs in my hand, as opposed to just trying to wiggle a mouse up and down. It just feels a little better to get some tactile feedback. Um, a little bit of info on what we're using here. This is a Korg nanoKEY. This is really, you don't, I have this because it's easy for me to plug into my computer. I'm using my video editing workstation to do this tutorial. It's just a lot easier for me to do that, and as such, I have this hooked into one of my portable rigs normally, so it's very easy for me to plug this in and use it for a tutorial. This is not, go do yourself a favor and spend a little extra money, get something a little better than this. It'll hook up the same way that I'm showing you. This is about as low end as you can get, but it works. It's easy. It's super small. I can take it on an airplane and make music. Um, so it works it's USB powered. Both of these units are, so it works in that respect. But if you're going to have anything that you're going to spend a lot of time on, definitely let's go ahead and splurge and spend more than the $35 this cost. um, Now this, on the other hand, this is a Livid Instruments code. It's a fantastic controller. It's 32 rotaries here, each one LED feedback here, lighting up to tell you where it is, where the encoder is turned to. It also has push down encoders on it as well. So, and all of these, which are 100% programmable. Excellent piece of gear. I can't speak highly enough about this piece of gear. It really lets you dig around when you get your chops about you. Um, let's try this again. When you really start to feel comfortable programming your own synthesizers and effects, and by programming I mean taking a MIDI controller like this and linking them together, you're really going to want something like this that just really lets you program a multitude of things at once, and you can really dig around on an EQ or a compressor and have a lot of things going on, and it feels great. So that's the two pieces of gear. Let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to open up Studio One, and just to be authentic here, I have not installed these on this computer yet. I've installed them, I'm sorry, I have not put them into Studio One yet, so we're going to be doing this for the first time. We are in our start page for Studio One. What you're going to want to do here is go ahead and go into Configure External Devices. So we're going to click here. There's nothing here. I haven't put anything to do any kind of music on this computer with. So this is the first two things. All right, so what you're going to do is hit Add. A few choices here. I'm not going to say these are bad. The presets are bad in here. Use them if you like. I like to create my own. I'm weird. I guess I'm a little bit of a control freak in that fashion. I like to do all my own knobs and try to put something together from scratch, because that way I know exactly how it's programmed. Not that these are wrong or anything like that. Sometimes I have clients come in and they might bring something that's listed on here, and if they do, I just click it. Let's see, which M audio. A lot of people like this controller here, Axiom. So I'll just drag it, I'll just click it and add it if somebody brings it in. But, you know, I personally like to do mine myself. So with that being said, we have a keyboard and a type of controller surface. Now, here's where it starts to get a little strange. Occasionally I'll get calls from people saying, hey, listen, I bought this control surface and I choose control surface in Studio One when I'm setting it up, and it's acting weird. I can't get it to work. I don't understand. So the first thing you need to know is the way Studio One works a little differently than, let's say, Sonar. The way you set up an external instrument or a controller in Sonar is you go in and you simply select the MIDI input and output for that controller. Then you name the actual MIDI input and output, and there's your controller. It's not quite the same in Studio One. It's a little more elegant, in my opinion, because you can go in and actually create this piece of gear inside of Studio One, and then it's easy to just kind of go look at it. After you do it, it'll make a little more sense to you. So let's let's go ahead and create a piece. So Korg nanoKEY. We're going to make this. This is a keyboard, okay? So we're going to go up here and we're going to put new keyboard. Manufacturer is Korg. Device name is nanoKEY. We're going to select our MIDI channels here. I just choose those, nanoKEY. We're going to hit OK. There it is. It sees it. It's waiting for us to use. Let's hit add so that we can add our Livid code. Here's where it gets a little confusing. You think that new control surface would work because this is a type of control surface, right? That's not quite how PreSonus has decided they want this to work. If you choose new control surface, they will try to implement a MACI protocol, sticking it to this, and this is a MIDI instrument. It doesn't respond to MACI protocol, so you can't really choose control surface. It's a little confusing, but I won't go into exactly what MACI control protocol is. If you don't know, look that up. That'll be for another tutorial. All you need to know for this one is that MACI protocol won't work here, so you can't use control surface. You actually have to tell Studio One that this is a keyboard, okay, because keyboards send and receive MIDI data. This sends and receives MIDI data. So as long as you tell it it's a keyboard, Studio One will work exactly like it needs to work because it's sending and receiving MIDI data. So new keyboard, manufacturer, this is Livid. This is called a code. See from code, send to code. We're going to hit OK. There it is. Looks good. We're going to hit OK. I think we're ready. We're going to create a new song. We'll leave these set at their defaults. It's telling us we are working at 48K, so we'll just leave that. So now we're ready. If you're new to Studio One, you're going to look over here and go instruments. Oh, okay, cool. My keyboards are going to be in here. No, these are VSTs. These are virtual instruments that you have loaded on your computer. These are not hardware pieces. These are the things that your hardware pieces are going to control. All right, so let's take Mojito, for example. We're just going to grab it, put it over here. Here it is. Now, it's a pretty simple simple piece of gear. It's just a synthesizer. Now you already know that it's working because I played. Because if you look over here, you will see there's the Mojito, there's the synthesizer. Here's my inputs. I've got it set to all inputs. Okay. I could choose code or nanoKEY. If I choose nanoKEY, it does the same thing. Okay. However, if I choose code, remember, code, it sees MIDI, and you can tell that it sees MIDI by this orange area right here. It's moving, but it's sending MIDI messages. It is not sending notes. So it's sending control messages, which is what you want. So just leave this on all inputs for now. Now we're going to go over here to our piece of gear. So as far as the Korg piece goes, we're done because you're controlling it, you're making sound, your keyboard's hooked up, you're good to go. For the Livid, what you have to do is go in and do what's called MIDI learning, okay? You have to basically you have to show Studio One all of these knobs in this unit. It knows right now that there is a piece of MIDI gear hooked up, but it doesn't really probably see all of these MIDI control messages. It doesn't know how many encoders this thing has. So what you have to do is go in and tell it how many it has. And to do that, you go into what's called MIDI learn mode. So what, in essence, you're telling Studio One to learn that I have this MIDI knobs and what controller number they're sending, what MIDI controller message they're sending to Studio One. So let's do that right now. If you go over here, you'll see that it's already got code as the controller, but when I turn things, see how nothing turns? It's because we got to go in and tell it. We have to do MIDI learn. So let's click here. Now we're going to go here. Code. Now, before we do this, let's go back here. If I move something here, notice how it comes up on this side. The values show up on the left-hand side here. Nothing shows up over here. This is where the controller value is going to show up. So what we do is go here, we hit code. There's nothing here, so we hit MIDI learn. It lights blue and it's ready to go. So as I turn these, see it show up? I'm just going to keep going, keep going. I'm going to go ahead and do every single knob. Let me move this down a little so that you can see that it's still, where were we? Here, here. We'll go down a little more. Boom, 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 boom. Now, here's something that you need to keep in mind. When you make these, right now, we could stop right there, okay? But when you have a piece of gear like this one that has visual feedback, okay, and it also receives MIDI, it understands MIDI as well as sending it. Not only sending it, it also receives it. You're going to want to transmit the values of these, okay? By transmitting, this is what I mean. Let's see, maybe you can see it. All right, I'm right-clicking here, And notice I've got transmit value. So if you look at the encoder on the actual piece of hardware, oh, I hope you can see that. It's moving with the unit, with the software. I have not hit transmit value on this one. So as I move it, it's not transmitting anything, okay? So your value is stuck right there. If you, let me put this into context to try to explain to you why that's important. Let's say you're using this to control two different synthesizers, the Mojito and Contact. Okay, if you jump between Contact when you're finished playing with it, getting it all right, and you jump back over to Mojito, your controller values won't see what Mojito's sending out, so they're going to stay where you last had them, which was the Contact values. So it's really imperative that you go in and transmit the value of each of these. I'm not going to make you sit through this. We'll just do a few right now, give you an idea. Now, all the way across the top here, you see that move? Oh, we missed one. There we go. There we go. So we've got all our knobs programmed. We're going to close this up. Now I'm going to remember this is your software, and code now has shown up over here because it sees, said there's control 19, 18, there's number 4. It sees that you have knobs here, so it recognizes that. What you have to do now is link the software controls on your screen to the hardware controls on your desk, on your piece of gear. I'm going to wiggle pitch, see it show up right here. I'm going to wiggle control 1. There's a link, there's a chain link right here in the middle. I'm going to click that. It lights up a darker yellow. There we go. I'm turning this on the screen. You've got pitch going up and down. So I can play and manipulate. So let's do a couple more. Wave, control 2, link, width, control 3, link. Now we've got 3 of these. I can really start to play and get some cool sounds out of that fairly quick and easily, as opposed to doing it with a mouse. And you could do this all the way across with each one of these. You could do it here. Let's take this, program our attack, our decay, our sustain, and our release. Oops. Looks like I lost tag here. So you get the idea. Where you really are going to dig into something like this is by going into your effects section, and let's take a let's see, what could we use? Here's a good one. Let's take our dynamics. Really, this really is it's a great mastering tool here. Let's pull it over onto this track. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. So what you could do, and again, look, now I'm back in here and it's doing nothing because we're focused on another instrument, on a different effect or instrument. If you look, our Mojito is sitting back here. If I jump onto it, this is what I'm talking about with transmitting values. When I go here, notice, did you see those top three? They're blank, okay? But when I jump back over to here, see how they light up? That means that this is automatically transmitting the values that we last had when we were playing with Mojito. If we didn't hit transmit value, when we change stuff over here, okay, it would want to hang on to those changes over here and then jump to your MIDI value as soon as you hit this just a little bit. So transmit those values, and when you look for units like this, try to find those that receive as well as transmit. Some of the older, really old ones only transmit, not going to do you that much good. So I think most of the ones receive now. But you're going to want to send that MIDI information to that unit so it understands when you make the jumps between these. As I was saying, let's do a little, this is going to be a little more complex than the last one we did. So what we want to do is set up a multi-band dynamics unit, which is, compression per band frequency-wise. So you could set up different compression settings on different parts of a stereo track, okay? Or mono track if you're on a mono track. So let's just go ahead. We're going to start off by going here. Oh, I need to open up the programming window here. So let's go here. Let's move one. Boom. Now we can go here. All right. Let's move two. I'm going to move 3 on the software. 3 here. 4 here. 4 here. Now I'm going to go down below here just because that's the way I want to do it. And I'm going to do low threshold here. High threshold for this one. Let's do it right here below it even again. So now I've got, just on that one band, I can tell it how wide of the frequency I want, where I want the high threshold, and I missed this program, so low threshold, high threshold, low threshold. So we have our band here. I can go back and forth. I can also tell it where I want the high threshold to be in the signal. Okay, the threshold that I want to cut off the highs at, or compress the highs. I can tell it where I want to compress the lows. So just in this, you can see, you can really start playing around with it and get some quick effects and values just by having hands-on control with this thing. And you can go across. We can do it. Why not? We'll do it real quickly. We've already got this set up. So let's jump over into here. We'll do high threshold with this button. We're going to do low threshold with this encoder. And now I've got width of frequency here, bandwidth, okay. I've got my high threshold here. low here. So now I can just really dial in. See how I'm really just getting. And that when you're trying to master something, there's nothing better than having something this quick to really start dialing in individual frequencies and bands, as opposed to trying to do it with a mouse, which really makes it hard. And you'd basically do it the same way. The beautiful thing about having a piece of gear like this is that you can do these buttons any way that you feel comfortable with. I like having the frequency up here, then the high bandwidth here, and the high threshold here and the low threshold here, just because that makes sense to me. Frequency, high, low. But you could do it any way that made it feel comfortable to you. But because there are 32, I can do each one of these frequencies, and not only can I do the frequency, the bandwidth of each one of these, I can also go in on each one of them and choose the high and low threshold, and then I can have 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, there's 5 sections. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different sections of compression, with each of these set to high and low bandwidth, so you really can start digging into the sound and have hands-on results quickly, as opposed to trying to do it with a mouse on each one of those, which is just extremely tedious. I've done it before, and it's nothing. You run it. It's a different world when you start doing this kind of work. To have something like this, especially in the mastering process, where you need your ears. You don't need to be trying to concentrate on clicking here, clicking there. Did I click in the right place? You don't need that. You need to set something on loop, or you need to really be doing some critical listening, and have your hands where you can move slowly where you want them, what you think needs to happen, and listen with your ears, as opposed to trying to visually move a mouse in the correct way. So indispensable when you're doing this kind of work, in my opinion. Got to get one of these. That's it. Hopefully you learned something. You can leave comments or questions in the comment section. As always, I cannot promise to reply. I'll do my best. I will. But got a lot of stuff going on these days, and I just cannot promise to get back to everyone. But I will try to monitor the video section of the YouTube page, and when I do have a free second, get in there and try to reply to any questions anyone has. Hopefully you got something out of it. Good luck, and God bless.